Never. When's the last time we had a pope from outside of Europe? A really long time ago. Africa. Well, if you're curious, 217 Italians, 17 French popes, 13 Greek popes, 8 Germans, 3 Spaniards, 1 Galilean. Anyone care to guess? Our Galilean pope?
Peter.
Yeah, I think exactly, Peter. 1 from England.
It's in the pear tree.
Exactly. 1 from England, 1 from Portugal, a Dutch pope, a Swiss pope, and of course, 1 Polish pope. I actually found a picture of a map that showed where the non-European popes all came from. They all came from North Africa, and then there's that 1 lone star in Argentina now. So the only thing that I think could make me more excited when the pope's name was announced would have been if he'd been from Africa, which I think would have been exciting as well. But the fact that he's from Argentina, I thought, was really amazing. It's fantastic to have somebody outside of the European enclave at the head of our church. So that's number 10. Number 9. He took the name Francis, which I just absolutely, the first time I heard it, I thought, oh my gosh, I love him already. I didn't know anything about him. I was literally driving in the car on the way home from work, and they said, Francisco, and the guys on WTOP were like, what kind of name is Francisco? And I'm like, it's Francis, you dummies. His name is Francis. This is exciting. And I thought maybe it was Francis Xavier, but I was really hoping it was Francis of Assisi, and of course it was. Because really, can you think of a more beloved saint? One whose life is more truly based on conformity to Christ. One who is a better example of evangelizing, of living a life of simplicity, of living a life based on love for our fellow creatures. That choice of name alone kind of started me on the road to a crush on this pope. I thought, all right, we're driving home and his name is Francis, so this is going to be an exciting thing. That's number 9. Number 8. He's a Jesuit. I was like, oh, he's a Franciscan and a Jesuit all at once. This is pretty cool. That's his papal seal, his papal coat of arms, which is based on the coat of arms he had as a bishop. And of course, in the center, that radius of the IHS is the Jesuit symbol. So it's kind of exciting that he takes all that he is as having been formed as a Jesuit and brings it to Rome. I think it's kind of funny. The head of the Jesuit order has long been called the Black Pope, but now the White Pope could have been the Black Pope. So now we have a checkerboard Pope, somebody who brings the world of the Jesuits into Rome. And of course, we have that wonderful emphasis from the Jesuits on community, and that's one of the first things that Pope Francis says. He became a Jesuit because he couldn't imagine living outside of community. That the Jesuit emphasis on communal living was important to him. And that's one of the reasons he chooses not to live in papal apartments, because he really feels the need to be accessible and to have access to other people. Of course, there's also the Jesuit emphasis on education. Pope Francis is no slouch, theologically speaking. He's trained in Germany. He's got the theological chops. And of course, there's also the Jesuit emphasis on service. So when I heard he was a Jesuit, I thought, all right, this is great. Pope Francis, S.J., I like this. All right. And his logo underneath, Miserando atque eligendo, by having mercy and by choosing him. It comes from the story, actually it's from the Venerable Bede. It comes from the story of the choosing of St. Matthew. And we'll talk about that again in a later slide. One last thing on the papal seal. The top, you can see it's got the mitre at the top, and of course that's following Benedict XVI. He broke from tradition. It used to be the papal tiara was there, but now we see the bishop's mitre and an emphasis on the role of the Pope as Bishop of Rome, as well as head of the Universal Church. All right, number 7. I like Pope Francis because he is challenging to all Christians. Not a picture of Pope Francis, but a picture that I think he would like. 2 quotes from him. We cannot keep ourselves shut up in parishes in our communities when so many people are waiting for the gospel. It is not enough simply to open the door in welcome, but we must go out through that door to seek and meet the people. And then he tells us to waste our time with our children and challenges our youth to make things messy in their home diocese. So hence the picture of a family working together at a really messy project. Because those of us who are parents know it's the times when we're down there on our knees with our kids, getting dirty, getting messy, that really we connect with them and new things come to life. Our relationships are strengthened, our interaction is stronger. It's when we're in the midst of that messiness. And I think Pope Francis is calling us to that. So I like Pope Francis because he is challenging to us all. Number 6. I like Pope Francis because he keeps things simple. That's the papal apartment Pope Francis lives in. When pictures of the apartment at Santa Marta were first released, everybody emphasized the fact that this is really simple living, and this is amazing. It's very in keeping with his Franciscan identity. With further study, I realized that the communal aspect as well is an important part of that. But his digs, his cars, some of the cars that he's been caught driving around in, I love. He was in an 84 Renault not too long ago. His garments, his theology. Like I said, he's got theological chops. He was actually he's probably the principal author of the 2007 document coming out of the Latin American and Caribbean Bishops' Conference on the new evangelization, which is basically a fantastic footprint for how the church needs to evangelize. And he is one of the principal authors of that document. But at the same time, he says things like, at times we lose people because they don't understand what we are saying, because we have forgotten the language of simplicity and import intellectualism foreign to our people. Without the grammar of simplicity, the church loses the very conditions which make it possible to fish for God in the deep waters of his mystery. I absolutely love that. As somebody who enjoys great theological debates and esoteric quotations from goodness knows who, I love the fact that he's saying, look, we're swimming in a mystery. We're needing to be completely enveloped by that. And to take the time and to use the simple language, the language that we use with each other. I think that says a lot. So, not to say that I'm not waiting for some fantastic theological documentation from him. That hasn't come yet. I'm sure it's coming. But I love his emphasis on keeping it simple, keeping it real, keeping it something that we can all engage with and understand. All right, number 5. I like Pope Francis because of the way he identifies himself. In the article that appeared in American Magazine, when he was asked, who is Jorge Bergoglio, he said, I am a sinner. And he went on to talk about this famous painting by Caravaggio, and this goes back to the saying that's underneath his papal coat of arms, about the calling of St. Matthew. It says, the finger of Jesus is pointing at Matthew, and that's me. I feel like him. Here, this is me, a sinner on whom the Lord has turned his gaze. The identification of himself as a sinner is one that resonates with me and with many folks. The groundedness of it, the utter reliance on God's love and God's grace is so profound in this identification. I could stop right there, but I'm not going to. I have more to say. Number 4. I don't know if I have to say anything about that. He washes feet. A lot of feet. And he doesn't discriminate whose feet he washes. And I love it. I just think it's fantastic. All right, next one. Number 3, sorry. I like Pope Francis because he loves children. The pictures of him with children, he has great warmth. He has a fantastic smile. He seems to really appreciate the joy of being around children. Certainly Matthew 19:14 comes to mind. Let the children come to me. There was a fantastic video that I could have put here of him with a little, have you seen it? The little guy basically taking over the job at master ceremonies. And it's just charming. And he's so wonderfully patient and welcoming. And this little guy is just enjoying being with this very welcoming, very open man. It's absolutely, if you haven't seen it, just Google it. It's beautiful. And I thought the patience that he's showing, the love that he is showing, the reverence he is showing this child is fantastic. So I love the fact that he obviously loves children. Number 2. I like Pope Francis because he embraces everybody. It doesn't matter who it is. He hugs people in a way where you can see he recognizes the light of Christ in that other person. The genuine conviction, the genuine love that he shows is amazing. And it comes through in a photograph. I can't imagine what that must be like in person. He really reaches out and connects with people in a fantastic way. So I like Pope Francis because he embraces. And number 1, I like Pope Francis because he's a leader who takes his role models seriously. The 4 images up there are the 4 images that he surrounds himself with in the papal apartments. The first and most important is the crucifix, but the other 3 are interesting as well. We have St. Francis down on the bottom right. I don't know if that's the icon. I couldn't tell in the research that I did. An icon of St. Francis is in his papal apartments. The one on the left is an icon of Our Lady from the patroness of Argentina. And then the interesting one in the middle is St. Joseph sleeping, which I thought was fascinating. So thinking of these 4 things, he is conforming himself to Christ, which we are all called to do. He is surrounding himself with the communion of saints. He lives in community, both in his room and within Santa Marta. His devotion to Mary, he's obviously very devoted to the star of the new evangelization, to our Blessed Mother. St. Francis, obviously, he's taken Francis's name and considers him to be a role model. But I thought the St. Joseph thing was interesting. Because St. Joseph's sleeping. Normally, we have St. Joseph back here, and that's readily identifiable. We all know St. Joseph. He's the guy who's generally standing with Mary and an infant Jesus. He's usually got a hammer or something in his hands. Iconography for Joseph is pretty straightforward. But Joseph sleeping, what do you think that has? What's up with that?
Dreams.
Dreams, exactly. God speaks to Joseph in his dreams. So I think, all right, this Pope is a dreamer. He's willing to be open to what God has to say to him in ways that we would say are pretty unconventional, even though we see them right there in our gospel books. So I love the fact that this is a role model for him. So knowing that this is the company he's keeping, and these are the models of leadership that he's following, I think this might be a leader I can get behind and walk in his footsteps, learn how to embrace as he embraces, and to recognize Christ and other people the way he does. So that's my top 10 list.